Hey, all praises to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai Ba'Hashem Harachakodash. Double honors to our apostles and elders here at Great Millstone. Peace and blessings to the Lord's hopefully elect. So there was a project that these devils had initiated back in 1967. They call it the Greater Israel Project. And all it is them trying to steal the blessing that was given to Jacob. And that's what people today just don't realize. With everything that's going on in Gaza, that war, these people in the world just don't understand what fuels these devils to do what they do. It's all about the blessing. The scriptures tell you that the end of the world and into the new world, wherein all things good and righteousness, before we get there, this is all based around two nations of people, and that is Jacob and Esau. The blessing that was given to Jacob, which we'll read, was more than the landmass. Shall I say, it was more than just Jerusalem, but it was actually that whole section over there, that whole landmass, which we'll show you. That's what's fueling these devils to initiate war over there in Gaza. You know, these people actually believe that there is some type of back and forth, like they actually want to believe that this what they would call a war, but it's not. It's an onslaught. It's a one-sided onslaught. Whoever they create the enemies to justify their means to go to war with whoever they want. That's what 9/11 was all about. They have to create what they would call a terrorist so that they can use it and use that what they would call an invisible enemy to bring about their agenda. And if their agenda is that they want to completely control the Middle East, they need to cause a reason to do so. So they create enemies to justify attacking. So, what they would say over there, Hamas, right? First of all, it's controlled opposition. There will never be a ceasefire. They're going to use what they created to justify attacking. That's what this is all about. It'll never stop. It'll never be put to an end. When they talk about, oh, we struck a deal with Hamas, they're going to release the hostages, all that. They're just talking to themselves. You understand? There's no actual war that's going on. It's all one-sided. It's all orchestrated. It's controlled. Why? Because they already had a plan to try to steal the land. They want to take the blessing. Has nothing to do with getting payback or nothing to do with releasing the hostages. They would never reach a peace treaty. They would never try to establish some type of cohabitation. They don't want that. They want the whole thing. And so they're going to create an excuse to attack because they already had it written. And what they're trying to do is take the blessing that Isaac had blessed Jacob with. That's what this is all about. If only these people in the world understood. So when they talk about, oh, good job for Trump, he came up with a peace treaty, a ceasefire. Fools. And they went right back to attacking. There will never be a ceasefire because you people don't understand that this man, Esau Edom, is the devil that the Bible speaks of, and that the prophecy warns that in the end of days, he's going to come down with great wrath upon the whole world, especially his brother Jacob, the true biblical Jews, Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, simply because he knows that his time is up. So he's filled with wrath and he's impatient. That's why he can't put the sword down over there. That thing been going on over 2 years now. Over 2 years now. You think they're never going to stop? You understand? The scriptures tell you their heart's intent. Their heart's intent is to try to take everything.
Here, Bezalel Smotrich, leader of a religious Zionist party, presented a map that included occupied West Bank and parts of Jordan as Israel. This bold claim sparked outrage from Amman and raised serious questions about Israel's territorial aspirations. In what many people online are calling a land grab, Greater Israel refers to a Zionist belief in a historic biblical land that spans from the Nile all the way to the Euphrates. Here's what Daniela Weiss, a leader of an illegal settlement, had to say about that.
I want to have for the Jewish nation the promised land from the Bible, from the Euphrates
yes,
to the Nile, and I'm sure it will be.
What about southern Lebanon?
If it is part of it, all of it, even parts of Syria, part of Iraq, part of Iran. It's huge.
Given all this information, is Israel acting in self-defense, or is there a wider regional plan?
Absolutely, there's an agenda. Has nothing to do with self-defense, man. It has nothing to do with hostages. It had nothing to do with none of that, man. This is about Genesis chapter. This is about Genesis chapter 25 and Genesis chapter 27. This all goes back to the book of Genesis. That's why they can't put the sword down. There will never be a ceasefire. The book of 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 tells you that wicked will be revealed. That wicked being Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. And yes, that includes the so-called Jewish man. The world is going to see for them for who they truly are. And that's why they've lost the plot to the world. You want to know why? Is because they honestly thought that by now they would have achieved their goal. They honestly thought that by now they would have moved out all the Palestinians and took Gaza, and that the Arab world would have taken in, all the Palestinians out so they could move in there, and they thought that the whole world would have their side. But the Lord frustrated the tokens of the liars, and now the whole world's condemning them. But guess what? They still on the attack because they can't put it down. If they actually stopped, then they would have to stage another attack to justify attacking again. And they don't have the time to do that, you see. So this is why they will never, ever stop. They won't stop until the Lord puts the spirit on Russia to go down there. And then that's when World War III is going to happen. That's in the prophecy of Ezekiel 38. Gog referring to Russia. So this is the Greater Israel Project. Like I said, they wrote this in 1967, I want to say. And look at the map. And you heard what the lady said, right? From the Nile to the Euphrates. Well, we're going to read that in the scriptures where she got that from, because that's the blessing. It says, this project, just jump to the point. It says, this project allegedly aligns with the U.S. strategy unveiled after 9/11 to target 7 nations: Iraq, Libya, Syria, Lebanon, Somalia, Sudan, and finally Iran. These countries, each with strategic significance, were systematically destabilized under the guise of fighting terrorism, promoting democracy, or protecting global security. Iran, the final target, remains a focal point due to its resistance to U.S. and the Israel's influence and the significant resources and strategic location. And he goes on with the plan of how they eventually want to take over that whole area. And have even Joe Biden, he said if we would create an Israel if there wasn't one, or something like that, because they want to have so-called American interest in the Middle East. So they basically want to control the whole world. And the thing with Iran is that they have their land. They are I want to say the number one provider for oil on the planet Earth. And they want the oil because if they control the oil, then they can control the world. But when you read Ezekiel 38, Iran, which is Persia, is protected by Gog. This is all about those nations, right? That's going to lead to World War III. But the book of Genesis 15 explains it. Verse 18, it says, in the same day the Lord Yahweh made a covenant with Abram, saying, unto thy seed have I given this land, from the river of Egypt unto the great river, the river Euphrates. You understand? So that's that whole landmass over there. That's why there's war in Gaza. It has nothing to do with self-defense. Man, this is about the blessing that was given to Abraham, which was passed to Isaac, which he then passed to his son Jacob. But when you read the scriptures in the Bible, you find out that typically it's the older son that got the heavier blessing. But it's not always the case. It could be lost, so to speak. So like if you take the 12 tribes of Israel, Reuben was the firstborn. After him was Simeon, and after him was Levi. Judah was the fourthborn. But because Simeon had slept with his father's wife while he was still alive, and because of Simeon and Levi, because of their violence, that it went to Judah. That's why Judah's the head. Even, but sometimes it could just be set up through the spirit, like Ephraim and Manasseh. Manasseh was the oldest, but Ephraim got the heavy blessed because through the spirit he was going to be greater. When Jacob and Esau were born, as the scripture tell you, before they even did anything, the Lord already had it set up that Jacob, the younger, would get the blessing versus the older. And it just had to play out the way it played out. And the way it played out was that Esau Edom got his name, Edom means red, by selling his birthright for some uncooked food. That's why his name was changed to Edom, which means red. So they're literally red man, red woman, which is why they like to do what? Have their food uncooked and eat raw steak tartare and blood sausages, etc. That symbolizes that they are the Edomites. Israel, whose name was Jacob, Yaquab means to supplant. He supplanted Esau for his blessing because it was already set up through the spirit. And he got the blessing of the kingdom of heaven, including the land. As Genesis 27, verse 28. Therefore Yahweh give thee the dew of heaven and the fatness of earth and plenty of corn and wine. Let people serve thee and nations bow down to thee. Be Lord over thy brethren, and let thy mother's sons bow down to thee. Cursed be everyone that curses thee, and blessed be he that blesses thee. Now, who did the Lord say that to? In thy seed all nations shall be blessed, and I will bless them that bless thee, curse thee that curse thee. Told to Abraham, but as you can see, one to Isaac, and then he passed it to Jacob. Verse 30, and it came to pass as soon as Isaac had made an end of blessing Jacob, and Jacob was yet scarce gone out of the presence of Isaac his father, that Esau his brother came in from his hunting. And he also made savory meat and brought it unto his father, and said unto his father, let my father arise and eat of his son's venison, that thy soul may bless me. And Isaac his father said unto him, who art thou? And he said, I am thy son, thy firstborn Esau. And Isaac trembled very exceedingly and said, who? Where is he that hath taken venison and brought it to me? And I have eaten of all before thou camest, and have blessed him. Yea, and he shall be blessed. And when Esau heard the words of his father, he cried with a great and exceeding bitter cry, and said unto his father, bless me, even me also, O my father. And he said, thy brother came with subtlety, and hath taken away thy blessing. And he said, is his name not rightly named Jacob? For he hath supplanted me these 2 times. He took away my birthright, and behold, now he hath taken away my blessing. And he said, hast thou not reserved a blessing for me? And Isaac answered, said unto Esau, behold, I have made him thy Lord, and all his brethren have I given to him for servants, and with corn and wine have I sustained him. And what shall I do now unto thee, O my son? And Esau said unto his father, hast thou but one blessing? My father, bless me, even me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and of the dew of the heaven from above. And by thy sword shalt thou live, and thou shalt serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass, when thou shalt have the dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. So this is why these Edomites live and die by the sword, the weapon. They will live and die by that Second Amendment. This is all they know. It's a blessing that the Lord gave them, the gun. Verse 41, it says, and Esau, here's the point, and Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning for my father are at hand. Then will I slay my brother Jacob. So this is what this is all about. Esau trying to steal the birthright that he gave up. They're pretending like they're the Jews, which they're not. And they're trying to take the land by force because they have the power of the sword and deception. That's what this is all about. This is why Esau Edom hates our people. This is the source of racism that our people don't realize. They think, oh, racism is just a matter of a misunderstanding and not understanding each other. No, it goes back to the womb. It goes back to the spirit. It goes back to the blessing. They hate us because they ain't us, so to speak, but they hate us because we got the blessing. We are the Lord's chosen, and they know it. That's why they're filled with wrath. That's why they did all they did to us in slavery. That's why they're about to do what they're about to do unto us, because they know that we're about to inherit the kingdom of heaven. This is why they're trying to steal it by force. They're trying to take it now by force. But the Lord is working against them. Sirach 44, verse 19. Abraham was a great father of many people. In glory was there none like him unto him, who kept the law of the Most High, and was in a covenant with him. He established the covenant in his flesh, and when he was proved, he was found faithful. Therefore he assured him by an oath that he would bless the nations in his seed, and that he would multiply him as the dust of the earth, and exalt his seed as the stars, and cause them to inherit from sea to sea, from the river to the utmost part of the land. That's that land blessing. With Isaac did he likewise establish, for Abraham his father's sake, the blessing of all men in the covenant, and made it rest upon the head of Jacob. He acknowledged him in his blessing, and gave him inheritance, and divided him portions among the 12 tribes did he part them. This is why he's called the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Many people don't know that. Yeah, he's the God of all nations, sure, but why is he called the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? Because they are the children of the promise. That's the difference. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, not Abraham, Ishmael, but Abraham, not Abraham, Isaac, Esau, but Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That's why he's called the God, those guys. So you got Christians that'll say, oh, he's God of us all. He's God of us all. Yes, but why is he called the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? Because those are the children of the promise. And Romans 9 says the children of the seed are not the children of the Lord, but the children of the promise. 2 Ezra 3, verse 16. And unto him thou gavest Isaac, and unto Isaac thou also gavest Jacob and Esau. As for Jacob, thou didst choose him to thee, and put by Esau. And so Jacob became a great multitude, right? So that's why this is all about these two nations. That's 2 Ezra 6 and 7. Then answered I and said, what shall be the parting asunder of the times, or when shall be the beginning of the first, end of the first, and the beginning of it that followeth? And he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau. For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. See, Esau is the end, and they're trying to steal the birthright. They're trying to say, nope, this is ours. This is ours. We deserve this. I'm the older brother. I deserve it. This belongs to me. That's what they do. This is what they're doing this for. Ezekiel 35. Verse 10 regarding Esau, Edom. He says, because thou hast said these two nations and these two countries shall be mine, and we will possess it, wherewith the Lord was there. Yeah. Because that's what they're saying. As well as Ezekiel 36. Verse 5. Therefore, thus said the Lord Yahweh, surely in the fire of my jealousy have I spoken against the residue of the heathen, and against all Idumea, which is Esau, which have appointed my land into their possession, with the joy of all their heart, with despiteful minds to cast it out for a prey. That's your greater Israel project. They are trying to appoint the Lord's land into their possession. They're trying to steal the birthright that they sold to Jacob. That's what this is all about. It all boils down to the blessing that was given. This is why Jacob's trouble is about to happen. This is why there's about to be chaos in the streets. This is why there will never be peace in the Middle East. There will never be a ceasefire. And this is why it's going to lead to World War III. You got to know what fuels this man to doing what he's doing. Because then if you did, then you would understand that we are at the end of days. And you will realize that this is the end. We on very short time. You understand? There won't be a peace treaty. There won't be a ceasefire. There won't be none of that. Okay, he's going to keep going because he know he's short on time. And he's going to come down with wrath on the Israelites in America because he's trying to capture Jacob because he knows that the Lord is coming. He's doing all this in wrath, all right? The book of Revelation chapter 12. With that, shalom.